Hello dear algorithms traders, in today's post we will talk about the algorithms of the big players. We look at why algorithms are needed, how to read them and what advantages they bring for us retailers. The imbalance between big players and retailers is dramatic. Just by looking at their technology, it should be clear to everyone what an advantage they enjoy in retail. In addition, they are set up and brought into line like an army. The retailers, on the other hand, compete as individuals. But even the best individual is never as good as a group. It gets particularly exciting when you look at their screens. Here the question arises, where are the indicators of the volume or footprint chart? The big players don't work with it because it doesn't bring them any advantage. And we retailers believe that a footprint or volume chart will help us? The loss rates of over 90% speak a different language. We know that the big players are constantly looking for the retailer's stops, which they take with their hidden iceberg orders. Appropriate algorithms are used to facilitate communication between the market and limit orders. For years ago, I came up with the idea that if the big players are able to analyze our stops, we retailers should also be able to read their algorithms. I've started aligning my charts with the algorithms, trying to get deeper and deeper into the eye of the tornado. With a trend reversal, you get into the market earlier and at the same time, the risk of being stopped out decreases. Since 2018, I have been dealing with the topic of algorithms. Over time, my screens kept evolving in the right direction. I invested some 1,000 hours for this, which in retrospect were very well invested. At first I found it a bit difficult and thought I would discover certain patterns in the footprint charts. I used countless filter settings to progress through each chart. The more I dealt with the topic, the more my ambition was awakened. Through the production of my YouTube videos, I came up with very creative solutions to penetrate even deeper into the market. Gradually, my perspective changed. In my stock exchange software, I developed some charts that do not exist to this day. Using spectral analysis, I was able to convert my specially filtered tones into pattern sequences. That also gave me interesting insights. Of course, I'm still at the beginning of a major challenge, but I'm getting one step closer to the goal every day. Of course, there are also some who say, this will never work. But those who close their eyes to the past become blind to the present and thus to the future. Let's look at history's greatest fallacies for a brief moment. In 1803, Napoleon's reaction to the first steam warships was, how can a ship sail against the wind and current by lighting a campfire under the deck? I don't have time for such nonsense. In 1878, Erasmus Wilson said, when the Paris World Fair comes to an end, electric light will never be heard of again. Heavier than air, such flying machines are impossible. Charlie Chaplin said, movies in theaters are just a passing fad. The audience wants to see actors live on stage. Albert Einstein said, there is not the slightest indication that atomic energy will ever be usable. I think there will be a market for maybe 5 computers worldwide. There is next to no chance that communications satellites will be used for better telephone, telegraph, television, or radio services. We don't like their music and guitar groups will soon be out of style, a record label told the Beatles manager. There's no reason anyone would ever want a computer in their home. The internet will have no more impact on the economy than the fax machine. The internet will not become a mass medium. The subscription model for music has failed. The spam problem will be history in 2 years, Bill Gates once said. Steve Ballmer said, the iPhone will never gain a significant market share in the future. In 5 to 6 years, nobody will be talking about Facebook anymore. By 2015, Windows phones will increase their market share from 5% to 20%, overtaking the iPhone. And in 2021, Christian Saxinger from NetSwealth said, in the long term, algorithms have no power on the stock exchange. I think we could clearly see from these examples that being wrong is a typical human trait. Everyone said it wasn't possible, and then someone came who didn't know and just did it. Just because someone says it doesn't work doesn't mean you shouldn't try anyway. Let's look at an example. You see 3 different sentences here, and at first glance everyone will think that they cannot read what is written there. Stop the video and try to read the 3 sentences. You will be amazed at what a person is capable of. In our world there are still some relics of the past, e.g. shoemakers stick to your last, apprenticeship years are not master years, we have always done it this way, what is on the table is eaten, what should the neighbors think, and if it doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. These phrases have shaped many people. Ask a friend or family member to take a piece of paper. You name him 4 terms and he should immediately write down what comes to mind. Namely a color, a tool, a musical instrument, and a piece of furniture. In 70 to 80% of cases comes red, hammer, fiddle, and chair. Any why is this the case? Well, because we humans have all been shaped similarly. We have completed the same kindergarten, the same school, a similar course of study or comparable training. The question is whether we want to keep this same imprint in the long term or work on our personality development. Includes body language, which is the oldest language in the world. Each of us is directly or indirectly involved with it. When we're on the phone, we pay less attention to the text and more to the voice and modulation. In conversation, body language and voice account for over 90% of our perception. Body language helps us at work in our free time when looking for a partner and also in financial matters. Those who are familiar with body language can protect themselves from many surprises. Now you can buy a book and start reading, or ask someone who knows about body language, but again, practice is worth more than theory. A person's feelings, perception, or will is invisible to others. Only his behavior, including body language, can give us important information. This is comparable to an iceberg order where most of it is hidden. The big players are constantly on the lookout for retailer stops that they can pick up with their iceberg orders. The big players use the algorithms to control the cooperation between limit and market orders. Translated, the algorithms are the body language of the big players. Compared to a retailer, the big players have to move huge amounts of money. Unfortunately, the big players cannot just click the button to buy 100,000 lots immediately, so they also have some disadvantages in the market. Of course, their strengths have a clear advantage, but due to the lack of volume, you first have to collect them laboriously within an equilibrium. In order not to attract attention, use invisible synthetic iceberg orders and collect again and again at similar price levels. The downside for many day traders is that movement only occurs 30% of the time. Of course, the big players try to act according to the economic principle and use every little advantage. They invest many billions for their analysts and programmers in order to get the most out of the market. You can find some videos of their strategies on my channel. The difference between a beginner and a professional is that the professional has significantly more experience and works with better and more efficient products. While the beginner is still looking for patterns, the pro knows there are no patterns in price or volume. But what about algorithms? The big players work with different algorithms, for example to identify stops and to present an illusion to the retailer or to execute their corresponding orders. I have already described in some of my videos how the big players proceed. The process is always similar, although of course you can't see that in the price. In the algorithms, however, yes. What is the reason for that? First of all, this is due to the programming, because a computer works line by line. Of course, different values can be entered, but the algorithms will always be the same. And so it should be logical that there can only be clear patterns within the algorithms. You see a time and sales list here, you definitely won't find any clear, structured patterns there. The trick is first to make a choice of what type of orders to highlight. Next, a link needs to be established. For example, when a red order meets a blue order or a yellow order meets a green order. At the end, the individual links must be assigned different tones. With the help of a spectral analysis, the tones are now converted into shapes and are thus able to make the patterns visible. Some traders who don't know my approach will think that with my screen you can't see the forest for the trees. But exactly the opposite is the case. For example, I developed the Bionic candle many years ago in order to focus on the essentials. The special arrangement on my screens only serves the purpose of recognizing details. In principle, you can compare my screen with the cockpit of an airplane. However, you don't need all the display elements for takeoff or landing. It's the same in trading. different displays for different phases. Of course, I also pay attention to the technical analysis, chart technique, fundamental analysis, algorithm analysis, and especially developed sound analysis. A trader should always ask himself, why am I buying, where am I buying, what am I buying, when am I buying, and where am I exiting? As you know, I work on a very short-term basis, from a few seconds to 4 minutes. The closer my target is to the current price, the more accurate my prediction is. I am not focused on one big win, and I am not making $30,000 in 20 minutes like most trading coaches. I'm making lots of small wins. From my point of view, there are no up and down trends either. The movements always depend on what the big players have collected beforehand. The most unnecessary reason to buy the euro is because it is going up. The best time to buy the euro is when all retailers are betting on the dollar. By the way, you should give a wide berth to a trading coach who is trying to sell you a pattern in terms of volume or footprint. You can find information about this in my numerous videos. If you want to delve deeper into the topic of algorithms, you need the appropriate screens, high-quality technology, very good ping values, a basic understanding of the market, and chaotic creativity. When all these things are in place, comes the crucial point: money management. I have developed an Excel spreadsheet especially for you, which you can download for free on my blog at Forex Factory. You can find out how to get there in the video I linked at the end. In addition, you will find 8 videos about the Bionic candle that are not available on YouTube. Now some will ask themselves whether it makes sense to identify algorithms at all. I would like to give you a small example. Here we see our spiritual horizon, and in the middle our wealth of experience. Now a problem arises within our spiritual horizon. We approach the problem, solve it, and all is well again. Another problem arises, we tackle the problem, solve it, and everything is fine again. This time a problem arises outside of our mental horizon. We are approaching the problem but are unable to solve it. Of course, the problem is solved from the outside, but not by us. Again, a problem arises outside, and this time we can break through our mental horizon to solve the problem. And this is where something very interesting happens. Our mental horizon is getting bigger, the whole thing is called expanding the horizon. And that is exactly one of our goals in life, to permanently broaden our horizons. You often have to overcome your fear for this, but in the end, it's worth it. Unfortunately, I have not found any traders worldwide who follow a similar trading approach. But maybe that will change in the future when some traders find that they can significantly increase their win rates and sometimes even see into the future for a few seconds. The algorithms have become an integral part of the market, and we will be confronted with them even more in the future. Maybe that is a good reason to take a closer look at it. I wish you every success and look forward to seeing you here again soon. Best regards, Michael.